Hello, friends. My name is Matt, and I'm the youth and family pastor at Cornerstone Church in Marshfield. And I'm here today with your Cornerstone Connection, a daily devotional. If you've been tracking here with us for a while, you know that I've been spending time in the Gospel of Mark and just working through that. And I came to a very interesting text today in the story of Jesus here. And I'd like to read for you from Mark chapter 12, verses 28 to 34, and then just share a thought from that. So here we go. It says this: One of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked him, "Of all the commandments, which is the most important?" "The most important one," answered Jesus, "is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." "Well said, teacher," the man replied. "You are right in saying that God is one, and there is no other but Him. To love Him with all your heart, with all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is more important than all burnt offerings and sacrifices." Then verse 34, listen to this. When Jesus saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And from then on, no one dared ask him any more questions. You are not far from the kingdom of God. This is a really interesting interaction between this teacher of the law and Jesus. This teacher asked Jesus a question that he, as we can tell, already knew the answer to, and he takes a liberty after Jesus answers the question to affirm the Son of God, the King of the universe, for his answer. And here's what we find out. After he affirms Jesus' answer, that it is true that to love God and love your neighbor as yourself are the most important commandments of all, we find Jesus looking back at him and giving him this answer: "You're not far from the kingdom of God." And everybody was amazed, right? And why? Well, as we can tell, this teacher of the law had answered correctly. He had the knowledge. He knew what was most important as it came to following and obeying the commandments of God. He had that knowledge. But what we need to know, and what that teacher of the law needed to know back then, was knowledge isn't enough. Knowledge doesn't cut it. Simply knowing things as facts doesn't change our hearts all the time. And as Jesus answered him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God," in that answer, what Jesus is telling that teacher of the law and those who are listening that day and those of us who read today is there needs to be a change, not just in the mind, and that's important that we have the knowledge of God, that we know the things of God. This is important, but that there's a change of heart. Remember what Jesus tells Nicodemus when Nicodemus visits him at night, right? He says, you need to be born again in order to be in the kingdom of God. It has to happen. There has to be this second birth in your heart. That's what allows you to be in the kingdom of God. It's not knowing the things of God, but it's believing in who He has provided. And so you don't get the kingdom without the king, is what Jesus was telling him that day. And so as Jesus confronted that man that day and listened to him and responded to him, He was letting him know, I am so glad you know this, that to love God and love your neighbor is most important. However, without me giving you new life, you will not be in the kingdom of God. You're close, but your heart needs to be regenerated. You need to have that second spiritual birth. Friends, I hope if this is new knowledge to you today, that you would take it and receive it and know that it is only through Christ and His presence in your heart, you believing in Him, not just knowing about Him, but believing in Him, allows you in the kingdom of God. And there's no greater place to be. Well, friends, hope that encourages you. Perhaps it challenges some of you. and may it feed your soul today. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.